John Kirby of the State Department took some questions on the issue of Syria and then on the issue of Saudi Arabia at a briefing here, and he got caught in some epic hypocrisy. So let's look at the part on Saudi Arabia and Yemen.
The U.S. has expressed grave concern over what Saudi Arabia is doing in Yemen by hitting civilian targets there. Why isn't the U.S. threatening to cut ties with Saudi Arabia?
We have, the Secretary talked about this when we were in Jeddah a few weeks ago. We have been honest with the Saudis about our concerns over the lack of precision in some strikes, and we've talked to them about the importance of conducting investigations into those strikes, and we know that that they continue to do that, to investigate. But
that's far from threatening to cut ties. Congress just approved the sale of $1 billion worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia.
That's right, because we have a strong defense relationship with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is under attack from
hospitals, schools in Yemen.
Saudi Arabia is under attack from missiles that are finding their way into Yemen with the help of Iran, that are raining down on Saudi citizens, and they have a right to defend themselves. Now, I have stood up here, I don't know how many times, and talked about our concerns about the precision or lack thereof in some of these strikes, and our concerns about that, and the Saudis have taken our concerns seriously. It's a different situation, and I think comparing what's happening in Yemen to Syria is a ludicrous exercise.
But Saudi Arabia is doing there what Russia is accused of doing in Syria. So
No.
How is that consistent?
Because what we're seeing the Russians do, and I would love to see you ask your government some of these questions. You know, Russia today never does that. You never poke and prod your own government.
Go on
but
you attack me when you want to evade a question.
No, I'm not attacking you. I'm not attacking you. I'm not attacking you. I would just love to see your institution ask these same kind of questions of your own government. Your government, which is flying aircraft over Aleppo and bombing hospitals. And it's not imprecision. It's specifically targeting civilian infrastructure and innocent people, innocent women and children, and first responders that are trying to come to the rescue after these strikes occur. I mean, that's deliberate. That's measured. That is absolutely in violation of international law. We're not talking about civilian casualties that are caused, by an inefficiency in the targeting process.
So let me de-bullshitify that for you. He's saying when Russia does it, kill civilians, it's on purpose. When Saudi Arabia does it, it's by accident. You guys believe that? Does anybody believe that? Nobody believes that, Mr. Kirby. What a silly thing to say. Look, so in the case of Russia, I think they don't care all that much about civilian casualties. So scorched earth tactics. Hey, ideally we want to target people in ISIS and Nusra, but whoops, we got 3 ISIS guys and killed 14 civilians in the process. Whatever, move along. That's largely what I think how Russia does their bombings. Who else does bombings like that? The U.S. So in other words, the U.S. thinks, we're largely getting bad people, but over a dozen civilians are dead. Whatever, nobody investigated. Let's move along. Accident, total accident. We were so sure we only had bad guys. So I think Russia and the U.S. are on par in that respect, where they don't give that many fucks about civilian casualties. Ideally, they'd like to avoid them, but if they don't, whatevs, dude. So it's basically like, a certain level of manslaughter, and they're like, hey, whatever, it is what it is. Saudi Arabia, I think, goes beyond that. I think Saudi Arabia goes, not only do I not care if I kill civilians in Yemen, that's the point. I do think that that's their ideology. Now, what's my evidence for that? Everything about the Saudi government. How many times have we discussed the Saudi government? All atheists are terrorists. Let's behead people in the public square. How enlightened and civilized. For, apostasy, sorcery, witchcraft, drug smuggling. This is a government that's been described as ISIS that made it. Does ISIS says, no, the point is killing civilians because we declare that these civilians are indeed not civilians. Why? I don't know. You're on the wrong team. How about that? You're not sufficiently religious. How about that? So in the case of Yemen, you had the Shia Houthis overthrow the Sunni government. So in the minds of Saudi Arabia, as soon as that happened, bitch, I'm going to go in Yemen and I'm going to any area that's a Shia area, it's getting bombed. And we know that's the case. For example, Saudi Arabia has bombed a potato chip factory. They've bombed mosques. They've bombed a school for the blind. God damn, that's fucked up. They bombed Doctors Without Borders, of course. They've used chemical weapons, illegal under international law. They've used cluster bombs, illegal under international law, have the specific effect of, well, after you did the bombing, can kill civilians who are just walking, minding their business because some of the bombs don't go off until much later on. So, again, there's not a question here. Over 50% of the people killed have been civilians. So, look, there's a number somewhere, right? I don't know what that number is, but there's a number where if you go over that number, any reasonable person goes, you really don't care. Like, it may even be the point to get the civilians. Maybe that number's 50%. I don't know what the number is, but in the case of Saudi Arabia, yeah, they don't care. You know, Israel, same thing. You're going to tell me you kill 80% civilians, and you're going to tell me that, oh no, it was a priority to avoid civilian casualties. That would be the most incompetent government in human history. No, you know, and maybe that was the point. So, it is amazing that in one segment, he feigns moral outrage. It's amazing. Russia and the Syrian government are killing civilians. Then the question is, why don't you care when Saudi Arabia does it and you continue to arm them to the tune of billions of dollars and aid them in their bombing? That is not the same thing. Saudi Arabia is lovely and they don't want to kill any civilians. It is always an accident when they do it. On purpose when our enemies do it. When our allies do it, it's always an accident and they have the purest of intentions. I'm sure. Just like with your, signature strikes, which are drone strikes where they go, don't really know who the fuck it is, but bomb anyway. A personality strike is, we know who it is, let's go get him. A signature strike is, not really all that sure, but bomb, bitch. And then a double tap. He said about Russia, like, they're going after civilian infrastructure, and then they hit the first responders. Unreal. We know that you do that. It's a fact that you do that. It's been proven you do that. Chelsea Manning proved that when she leaked the stuff from Iraq. You hit somebody who was in the media, you thought it was a gun, it was a camera. That person's dead. First responders show up, bomb them too. It's what's called a double tap. So we do that. 90% of the people we kill with drones are not the right people. We do that. No, when we do it, it's always okay. When they do it, it's always wrong. It's childish politics, but it's the politics that rule the day.